Hey guys, this is Nick from Financially Aware. In this video, I want to talk about the history of diamonds, how buying a diamond engagement ring became ingrained in Americans, and show why they are a terrible investment. The truth about how people have been convinced that diamonds are valuable may really shock you. Now, saving money won't necessarily make you rich, but spending too much money can make you poor. So if you can avoid spending on big purchases like diamonds that don't actually bring any value to your life, you can use that money to invest or buy something that really matters. Before we get started, hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It costs you nothing, just like the real value of a diamond. Before 1870, diamonds were actually rare and only found in Brazil and India, and only the richest people could afford them. In 1870, huge diamond mines were discovered in South Africa, where diamonds were soon being scooped up by the ton. And De Beers is the company that made the diamond industry what it is today, and it was founded by Cecil Rhodes, who also founded the state of Rhodesia, which later became Zambia and Zimbabwe. The Rhodes Scholarship at Oxford University is also named after him and funded by his estate. Now, Rhodes started by renting water pumps to miners during a diamond rush in 1867 at Kimberley, South Africa, where he expanded into mines, and about 20 years later, he became the sole owner of all diamond mining operations in the country, with the backing of the Rothschild Bank. Rhodes built De Beers into a diamond cartel, which was a monopoly, and De Beers mines their diamonds, then handles their sales and distribution. If you want to buy diamonds from De Beers, you've got to play by their rules. And diamonds are sold in events known as sites, and there are 10 sites held each year. And to buy these, you have to be a site holder, which is a small number of dealers. The diamonds are sold on a take it or leave it basis, and a site holder is given a small box of uncut diamonds priced between $1 and $25 million, and De Beers sets the price, and there is no haggling. So it is rare for site holders to refuse a diamond package offered to them for fear of not being invited back. And those who dare to purchase diamonds from other sources other than De Beers will have their site holder privilege revoked. In the early days, De Beers controlled about 90% of the world's diamond supply. Today, it is no longer a monopoly and only controls about 40% of the world's diamond trade. So how did De Beers convince Americans that they need to spend 2 months' salary on a diamond engagement ring? Well, Ernest Oppenheimer took control of De Beers in 1927, and in 1938, his son Harry went to New York City to meet with advertising agency N.W. Ayer. In 1938, 3/4 of all De Beers diamonds were sold in the U.S. with an average price of only $80, which is about $1,500 in today's dollars. Oppenheimer believed an advertising campaign could convince Americans to buy more expensive diamonds. An Ayer study stressed the need to strengthen the association in the public's mind of diamonds with romance, since young men buy over 90% of all engagement rings. It would be crucial to convince them of the idea that diamonds were a gift of love. The larger and finer the diamond, the greater expression of love. And also, young women had to be encouraged to view diamonds as an integral part of any romantic courtship. Ayer did this by using movies and movie idols. They paid to get certain magazines to feature stories about celebrities giving large diamonds to their women. Fashion designers would talk on radio programs about the trend towards diamonds. And since England had a lot to gain from the diamond industry, Ayers was able to get Queen Elizabeth to go on a well-publicized trip to several South African diamond mines where she accepted a diamond from Oppenheimer. So this type of advertising is still done today at red carpet events with movie stars showing off their Harry Winston multi-million-dollar diamonds. And it works. They have a saying, the big diamonds sell the little diamonds. And by 1941, diamond sales in the US were up 55%. But they didn't stop there. In 1947, they defined their target audience as some 70 million people 15 years and over whose opinion we hope to influence in support of our objectives. Ayer started a program that included arranging for lecturers to visit high schools across the country. All of these lectures revolve around the diamond engagement ring and are reaching thousands of girls in their assemblies, classes, and informal meetings in our leading educational institutions, the agency explained in a memorandum to De Beers. So they were basically being led into schools all over the country to plant the seed in students that when they get married, the boys need to buy a diamond ring to show their love, and the girls can define their worth by how big a diamond ring she gets from her man. And within a year, the famous "a diamond is forever" motto became the official motto of De Beers. And their goal was to promote the diamond as one material object which can reflect in a very personal way a man's success in life. In the mid-1960s, De Beers tried to recreate the US success in Japan, Germany, and Brazil. They were not successful in Brazil and Germany, but within 10 years, De Beers created a $1 billion a year diamond market in Japan, where matrimonial custom had survived feudal revolutions, world wars, industrialization, and even the American occupation. Until the mid-1960s, Japanese parents arranged marriages for their children through trusted intermediaries, and the ceremony was consummated according to Shinto law by the bride and groom drinking rice wine from the same wooden bowl. De Beers began its campaign by suggesting that diamonds were a visible sign of modern Western values, and it created advertisements in Japanese magazines showing beautiful women displaying their diamond rings. And all of the women had Western facial features and wore European clothes. The women in most of the advertisements were involved in some activity that defied Japanese traditions, like bicycling, camping, yachting, ocean swimming, or mountain climbing. And in the background, there usually stood a Japanese man in fashionable European clothes, and behind them, a fancy European car. And the message was clear. Diamonds represent a sharp break in the Oriental past and a sign of entry into modern life. When the campaign began in 1967, not quite 5% of engaged Japanese women received diamond engagement rings. By 1972, it was 27%, and by 1978, it was 50%. And by 1981, 60% of Japanese brides wore diamonds. So Japan became the second largest market after the United States for the sale of diamond engagement rings. With the success in the US and Japan, De Beers just had to keep advertising and keep their prices high. They did this by hoarding diamonds and only releasing enough engagement-sized diamonds per year based on the expected marriage rate in the US and Japan. The problem is that when new diamond mines were discovered, they had to make a deal to buy up all the output of the mines to keep the diamonds off the market so they could keep the prices high. In 1957, the Russians discovered diamonds in Siberia, and De Beers made a deal with them to buy up all their production so they would not flood the market and crash diamond prices. De Beers thought the amount of Russian diamonds would soon dry up. Instead, they increased at a huge pace. The diamonds were only an average of 0.28 carats, which was much smaller than the 1 and 2 carat rings that De Beers trained Americans to buy. So what did they do? They reversed their marketing that told women that their status and emotional commitment was tied to the size of the diamond. Instead, they now emphasize the importance of quality, color, and cut over size. And pictures of 1/4 carat rings would now replace the pictures of up to 2 carat rings in their ads. Also, they came up with new products to use all those diamonds, like the Eternity ring that had 25 small diamonds on it. Also, tennis bracelets were a good way to use up those smaller Russian diamonds. The average size of diamonds sold fell from 1 carat in 1939 to 0.28 carats in 1976, which was almost exactly the average size of the Siberian diamonds that De Beers was distributing. So De Beers convinced Americans to want smaller diamonds just so they could soak up the glut of the smaller Russian diamonds. By 1979, De Beers' wholesale U.S. sales were $2.1 billion, up from just $23 million in 1939. So in 40 years, their sales went up almost 100 times by starting with $200,000 in advertising and gradually increasing it to $10 million a year in advertising. To keep prices up, they have to control the supply in the market. So-called blood diamonds are a threat to their price control. So how do they handle this? Well, De Beers was actually buying conflict or blood diamonds from Angola and Sierra Leone and other conflict areas where the money was going to rebels to try to overthrow the government. The UN actually did De Beers' work for them by making embargoes on diamonds from these places. This actually kept supply off the market, and by calling them blood diamonds and certifying that the De Beers diamonds are conflict-free, this gives them a premium quality to them. But the reality is that blood diamond is a marketing term to disparage other diamonds and keep them out of the world markets so they don't lower the prices that De Beers can get for their diamonds. And what do you do about all the diamonds that were bought years ago by people who are now grandmothers or even passed away? There are hundreds of millions of carats of these diamonds in people's hands. If they decided to sell them, it would severely drop the prices of diamonds. N.W. Ayers thought about this in 1953, and he said, "In our opinion, old diamonds are in safe hands only when widely dispersed and held by individuals as cherished possessions valued far above their market price. Safe hands belong to those women psychologically conditioned never to sell their diamonds." Have you ever heard of heirloom diamonds? In the movies, you always hear about some diamond ring passed down by the grandma that has so much sentimental value that you can never sell it. Now you know where this idea came from. The idea wasn't thought up by your grandmother. It was cleverly designed by an advertising agency. So, are diamonds a good investment? The short answer is no. As you see, diamonds are only seen as valuable from years of advertising and using a monopoly to tightly control supply while keeping used diamonds off the market. The true test of something's value is how much someone else will pay you for it. The markets for precious metals are very easy to buy and sell because metals are fungible, meaning they are identical and easily exchangeable. So 1 ounce of 24 karat gold is the same anywhere in the world. Because of this, the spread between buying and selling are usually only a few percentage points. This is not the case for diamonds. The value and the quality is very subjective, and because the markup is between 100 and 200%, You can lose 70% or more of the original purchase price when you try to sell it. That's if you can find someone to buy it. Most diamond dealers make it a policy never to buy back diamonds from customers. The reason is that they don't want to make them angry with the low amount of money that they would offer them. Also, many dealers get their diamonds on loan, so they don't have to put out any money until they sell it. If they get a wholesale diamond for $3,000 and sell it for $10,000, they would offer to buy it back somewhere below wholesale, maybe like $2,500. That would be a 75% loss to the person who bought it for $10,000. And this is not a hypothetical example either. I had a friend who had a pawn shop, and he had the delicate task of offering guys like $2,500 for a ring that they paid $9,000 or $10,000 for just a few months earlier before they broke off their engagement with their fiance. And the reason he offered them so little was because that was the actual wholesale price in the Rappaport price guide. So you see, a diamond is only valuable when a dealer is trying to convince you to buy it. When you try to sell it, then you find out the real value. Not many people know this, but there was actually diamond futures contracts trading in 1972 on the West Coast Commodities Exchange. It only traded 194 contracts over 2 weeks, and the price fell by 40% before they shut it down. The stock markets and future markets are for price discovery. The last thing the diamond market wants is true price discovery. That's why diamonds are not a real investment. So not only are diamonds not rare or valuable, but now you have real lab-grown diamonds. These lab-grown diamonds are so good that you need electronic equipment to tell the difference from real diamonds. Add to this the fact that De Beers is no longer a monopoly and only controls about 40% of the diamond market after the Canadian and Australian mines started competing with them. These are all reasons not to waste your money on any kind of diamonds. Instead of wasting 2 months' salary on a diamond ring, buy a used car for cash or use the money towards the down payment for a house. You'll be much better off financially with either of these. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up and let me know if after watching this video you would still buy a real diamond or even a lab-grown diamond as an engagement ring. As always, please subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. Thanks for watching.